everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over how to control the domain settings for your online store. So we're starting off in the back end of our Shopify store, and we're going to click on Settings and Domains. So your domain name or your store URL is what a customer is going to put in their browser to get to your online store. Now, when you create your Shopify store for the first time, Shopify is going to give you a default store URL, and you can tell which one it is. It usually ends in .myshopify. So in this case, we have plretail.myshopify.com. This is our default Shopify URL. Every website that's online needs a domain name, so this is the default that's really intended to just be a placeholder until you swap it out with the official name. So Shopify gives you two ways of connecting a domain name to your store. You can either buy it directly through Shopify, or you can connect a third-party domain provider to your store. So if we wanted to buy a new domain, we can just click buy a new domain, and we're going to put in our name, but it's going to come up as unavailable because we own it. And even though we can't buy our name, there are other alternative names that Shopify is going to suggest down here. And you're going to find that there are different pricing because sometimes different domains are valued differently based off of what they end with. So this one is .org, this one's .store, this one's .shop. And based off of popularity, that might inflate some pricing. And there are also some cases where you'll find domain names that were previously owned and expired. And if the previous owners did any marketing for that domain, if there's any traffic that comes to that domain, sometimes they'll be valued a little bit higher and cost a little bit more. But all in all, if you wanted to go ahead and buy a domain name, you can search for the name and click buy. And that domain name will be auto-configured for your Shopify store, so there's not much you're going to have to do to the settings. And if you purchased your domain from a third-party provider, you can connect that by clicking Connect Existing Domain and entering the domain name over here. So when you purchase your domain name from a third-party provider, it's not set up by default to connect to Shopify. You have to go into your third-party domain account and configure your DNS settings to point to Shopify. Now, if you're using a popular provider like GoDaddy or Bluehost, sometimes Shopify will have an option over here to connect the domain automatically by you logging into your provider account, and then Shopify will make those settings changes for you. Now, if that option is not here for you, Shopify will give you instructions on how to make those changes, and you can see that by clicking this link. Shopify has specific instructions for some popular providers like GoDaddy, Bluehost, Google Domains, and Namecheap. And if you are not using any of these, Shopify further down has general instructions for how to go ahead and make those changes. But once you go ahead and configure the DNS settings and you click Verify Connection, your domain will appear over here in this domain list. So you can have more than one domain associated with the account. So for example, you can have one domain that has the www and the non-www version of your domain. So we have www.primelineretail.com and then just primelineretail.com. So you usually want to add both and associate both with the store. Over here, you can see which one is our primary domain because the icon is in blue and it says primary for online store. And if you associate more than one domain with your store, you have multiple options for how Shopify can handle the domain. So you can control the domain settings by clicking into the domain, and you can see up here that it's managed by GoDaddy when it was added. And here you can change the domain type. So with a domain type, you have three options. You can either make this domain your primary domain, which means that someone comes to your store, this is the main name that they see at the top of the browser. You can have it redirect to the primary. So if this is just a way that people are coming into your store and you want to just funnel them and redirect them to the main domain, you can set this up as a redirect to point to the primary domain. Or you have the option to set up a domain as an alias domain. So an alias domain means that no matter which domain someone's coming in, whether it's Greenline Packaging, Primeline Retail, www, or non-www, they're all going to be seeing the same store. And you want to be careful with alias domains because this can kind of hurt your SEO and how Google sees your store. It might cause a little bit of confusion. So usually we recommend kind of staying away from the alias domains and sticking to one of the main two. Now, if you purchased your domain through Shopify and you click on the domain settings, you'll see a couple of extra settings down here that you don't normally get when the domain is managed by a third party. Usually you can control the DNS settings directly through Shopify and control some extra options. Over here, all of our domains are purchased through third party, so we don't see those options. But you also have the option to transfer your domain from a third party provider to Shopify or vice versa. So if you click transfer domain, you can put in the domain name over here and Shopify will provide instructions on how to transfer that domain back and forth. And it doesn't necessarily matter specifically to your store where that domain is managed because you can control the settings from wherever it's managed and it will still be interpreted the same on your store. You usually want to transfer domains if you want to just control everything in one place or you happen to like one provider more than the other. But as far as store performance or how Google sees your website, where the domain is managed does not really matter in that case. But all in all, that's how you would manage your store's domain settings.